Welcome back everyone, I'm Robbie.
And I'm Liam.
And as promised, we're going to be doing something a little bit differently this time. It's been a long time since we've done one. We did a few when we first kicked off the channel. We're going to do just some top 10s of different genres and things like that. We're going to get back into that this year. And to time with the release of How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, we are going to do our top animated films of all time. We have reviewed The Hidden World, so check that out. It's up on the channel right now. You can go have a look, see what we thought of those, of that one, and of the trilogy as a whole. But these are our top 10 animated movies.
Yep, I'm really excited about this one.
Me too.
Been a big fan of animation for the longest time, and it's going to be great to talk about some just honestly fantastic films.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, really good.
Here we go. Alright, so these are our top animated movies of all time. We're going to start off, like we're doing every list for our best and worst, we're going to start off with our few runner-ups. Would you like to go first?
Absolutely. So my runner-up list is of high quality films, ones that I love, and I know that Robbie is a big fan of as well. Hopefully, I could be wrong.
We'll find out. We have no idea. We have
yeah.
no idea what's in either of our lists. We have a couple. I'm sure there's a couple that we kind of have an idea, but in general we don't know.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. But either way, these are high quality films, just not quite on the top 10 list. So we've got Castle in the Sky, Hayao Miyazaki's Ghibli film, and it's a beautiful little story, wonderful fairy tale, lots of fun. Then we've got Zootopia, which is Disney's take on racism. Spirited Away, another Miyazaki film. You'll get quite a few of those on this list. Then for the other ones, we've got The Lion King, 1994 classic, and Aladdin with Robin Williams. I love Aladdin, it's great. And those are my runner-ups. What about yours?
My runner-ups are Moana. I thought that was a terrific little film. Some great moments in it. The Jungle Book, the 60s animated classic, absolutely loved it. Tarzan, another one that I absolutely loved when I was a kid. I watched it on repeat so many times, and the Phil Collins soundtrack I still love so much. Beauty and the Beast, I would have loved to be my top 10 because it used to be my top 10, but there's a few more recent ones that bumped it down. But man, it's a good movie, Beauty and the Beast. And Finding Nemo, another one that used to be in my top 10 for a long time, and that got bumped down by a couple.
Fun fact, that was the first film I saw at the cinema.
Really?
Finding Nemo, yeah.
Mine was Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So what's your number 10?
My number 10 is The Emperor's New Groove.
Nice.
I consider it to be one of the best Disney films. It's such a quirky, clever little film.
Ha! Boom, baby!
It's got some great characters, a wonderful arc, and an incredible theme about vanity.
You threw off my groove!
I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's groove.
Sorry!
And how it's actually good to be a good person. And the way that they tell the story is so unique, because you have lots of stories that are like that, but the transformation with the llama and everything, it's fantastic. And I love Pacha, I love Cusco.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant little film. And it might come off as a bit childish. I get that like the humor's not for everyone, but I think it's so short and sweet. It comes in at about 80 minutes long. And to me, it's my favourite Disney film. So yeah.
So no more Disney films on your list?
No, there's there's a bit of Pixar, but not Disney.
Exclusively Disney.
No, break.
The Emperor's New Groove.
My number 10 is a recent one, which I've seen a few times, and every single time I struggle to get through not emptying an entire box of tissues. That's Coco. Oh man, this film hit me hard. It is so beautifully done.
I know I'm not supposed to love music. No music!
Lee Unkrich, who did Toy Story 3, comes back for Coco, and he's become one of Pixar's, I think, best current working directors.
Absolutely.
And he fully nailed the heart that Pixar gets right when they get it right. The animation was stunning, the message behind it was stunning, the feeling of family.
Oh, it's one of the most beautiful films I've seen,
yeah.
just in general.
And it just hits home.
Never forget how much your family loves you.
You know, and there's different kinds of family, obviously, but everyone relates to that.
And may I just add, the representation of Mexican culture is wonderful backdrop.
It was great education on the holiday of the Day of the Dead without being exposition. You just learn as you go along, and you learn so much about it.
Everything feels so natural.
Yeah, definitely. Just a fantastic film.
Number 9. My number 9 is my second favourite Pixar film, and that is Toy Story 2. What I think is the best of the Toy Story trilogy. I think it has the best story, the best motivation and character arcs, the best message. To me, it's the most special. I think that if I was to nitpick one problem with the film, it would be that Stinky Pete is a little bit one-dimensional. But even then,
I just love that it's Kelsey Grammer.
He's great. Oh yeah, and Kelsey Grammer's fantastic. Everyone's giving it their all, and it astounds me the story behind this film as well.
It is a very nice story.
They lost nearly all the assets for this film. Yeah, and had to remake it. And then it was also originally going to be a direct-to-DVD film.
Yeah.
But it was so good that they released it in cinemas, and it is my favorite Toy Story film.
What are we gonna do, Buzz?
Use your head.
But I don't want to use my head!
I love seeing what Woody goes through. I love the new characters that are introduced, like Jessie and Bullseye.
Who become Toy Story classics now.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, it just has so much heart. The scene with Jessie, When Somebody Loved Me, is one of Pixar's standout scenes.
Sarah McLachlan, what a voice she has in that scene. Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Back it up, back it up!
I'm tour guide Barbie!
I'm a marriage butter.
Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Toy Story 2.
My number 9 is Aladdin. I would have liked to put up higher because, man, I love this movie, but the rest I just love a bit more. It's so much fun. Like, the genie makes that movie.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
Like all Disney films, it's got a great message behind it. The animation is beautifully done. I think it's one of the best looking 2D animation drawn Disney films. It has one of the best Disney villains in it with Jafar.
Jafar is fantastic. He is such a scene stealer.
Yeah, has some of the best Disney music.
You ain't never had a friend like me.
And I remember seeing the big screen, the Cave of Wonders just terrified me. It's got everything in it. It's got thrills, mystery, suspense, a lot of comedy because of the amazing Robin Williams.
He puts so much character into that film. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have been nearly as good without him, but man, he leaves such a dent in that film.
It wouldn't have been nearly as good without him.
What is it you want most? There's this girl. Pretty? Beautiful.
C'est l'amour.
It's like, it's impossible to think of Aladdin and not think of Robin Williams' performance as the genie. It's iconic.
For me, he is a third of what makes the movie so great. One character is an entire third of that film for me.
Never had a friend.
Coming this holiday season, Walt Disney Pictures' Aladdin.
You ain't never had a friend like me.
Number 8. My number 8 is one of the most underrated animated films ever, but everyone that I've talked to loves it. The Iron Giant.
You're gonna hate me.
How dare you?
I don't hate it. I've never seen it.
Oh, that's okay then. You need to watch it.
I do want to.
The Iron Giant, I think it's totally up your alley as well.
I know, Brad Bird.
Yeah, one of the most wonderful animated films I've seen. When I first saw How to Train Your Dragon, it sort of reminded me of The Iron Giant because of that unlikely friendship between Hogarth and the Giant, who was voiced wonderfully by
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
Groot himself.
So, I guess you're not gonna hurt me, huh?
And it's just such a beautiful story. The way that they blend the CG with the animation is actually stunning. It still looks great today. I watched it like about halfway through last year again, and it's just stunning. It's filmed as if it's a live-action film, which is one of the things that's so great about it. The best animated films could be live-action.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that Brad Bird says he does. He just treats animation as a way of telling the story. He doesn't limit himself to it.
Because animation's not a genre. It's just the way that it's being told.
Definitely.
And The Iron Giant is fantastic, and I think that if you haven't seen it...
I will make sure that by the
to.
end of the year I'll have seen it.
Oh, well, great.
It's on my list.
The Iron Giant.
My number 8 is The Adventures of Tintin. Spielberg, proving that not just in live action but in animation he is just as good a director. He really tapped into his Indiana Jones qualities with this one, and just has fun with it. And the whole movie is just fun. It's not out to have any big moral dilemmas or anything. It's just there just as a great fun time at the movies, and it succeeds so well.
Did you hit anything?
Oh dear.
It's a really good adventure film.
Oh, it's so
really,
good.
really good.
It's so good. I grew up reading the books of Tintin, so I love Tintin so much. And going motion capture things is the great balance. Because you get those real performances from the actors like Jamie Bell, Andy Serkis, Daniel Craig, who all just are amazing in their roles.
The sandwich. The keys.
But it still keeps it larger than life.
And you retain the aesthetic of Tintin. Like Tintin in live action just kind of like Dr. Seuss in live action. It just wouldn't gel.
Yeah, I gotta agree there.
The use of the camera in animation was just amazing. I just love this movie. John Williams gives a very unique and different score, a very kind of like detective, fun, almost Saturday morning cartoon kind of feel to it. If you haven't seen it, go watch this movie if you're a fan of Tintin or just Spielberg and Indiana Jones.
Land! We're not there yet! No! Land!
You looked a little cold, so I lit a wee fire.
In a boat!
My number 7 is a film that I accidentally fell in love with, Shrek 2. Shrek 2 is the best DreamWorks film, IMO. To me, it's everything a sequel should be and more. It expands the lore and the world of Shrek, and I really love the first Shrek film. But they add things like Puss in Boots.
Pray for mercy from Puss in Boots.
And the Fiona's parents as well.
Everybody dig in.
Don't mind if I do, Lillian.
Well, the comedy is great in the first film. The comedy is just so knockout in Shrek 2.
So many pop culture references that work, that aren't aged.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm Sleeping Beauty. Oh.
And the whole Far, Far Away, it's Hollywood. And it's so brilliant. It's so creative, and the heart of the film, it's so great. The first 2 Shrek films are really stories about identity. You've got some fantastic moments. This film has such a great soundtrack as well, and it has one of the best climaxes I've ever seen with I Need a Hero.
Hit it!
Such a satisfying film. 3
of the best cast animated voices for me in any animated film, which is Julie Andrews as the Queen, John Cleese as the King, and the best of all of them is Jennifer Saunders as the Fairy Godmother.
Who knocks it out of the park. Yeah. The Fairy Godmother and Prince Charming.
Rupert Everett as Prince Charming, my God.
They're so great.
Shrek?
For you, baby, I could be.
Shrek 2.
My number 7 is another DreamWorks film. It is not Shrek though. It is How to Train Your Dragon 2. If you've seen our How to Train Your Dragon review, you will know that I'm a insanely huge fan of How to Train Your Dragon. I love those movies. They are my favorite DreamWorks films. They are some of my favorite films of all time. And this one was such a great sequel to the great first film.
We've really got to work on your solo gliding there, bud. Toothless. You're pouting, big baby boo.
It took the story in a different area to what the first one did. The first one was about developing the friendship between Toothless and Hiccup. The second one was about putting that friendship to the test with Drago coming in.
It's wonderful. It's a wonderful sequel because it actually does something different.
Yeah.
films can easily just replicate what came before it.
Yeah.
But it's the best kind of films that try to expand on that, but whilst doing something new. And How to Train Your Dragon 2 definitely does that.
I know what you're gonna say.
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
This one, it works. It works so nicely as just the middle chapter and just as a film. John Powell again knocks the square out of the park, and it's great. I love this one.
Yeah, fantastic.
Come on, Toothless! Yeah, baby!
Well,
What's your
number 6? My number 6 is my favorite Pixar film ever made, The Incredibles. Now, whilst I love Shrek 2, this is the film that should have gotten Best Animated Feature. Because that was the first year that it was introduced at the Oscars, and it didn't.
Oh,
it didn't.
I thought it
Shrek
did.
2 won.
Oh,
Shrek 2
wow.
won.
Okay, wow.
And whilst I'm still okay with that, The Incredibles to me is just that bit better. This is probably the film I've seen the most.
Oh, my back!
It reinvigorated how superhero films can be.
Oh, how animated films can be.
And how animated films can be. It's so mature. Like, there is a plot line where Helen thinks that Bob is cheating on her. It's never said, but it's always implied.
It's
you don't,
heavily implied.
You don't pick up on it as a child. You just think, oh, she knows that something's going on. But as an adult, you watch it and you're like, holy shit, they actually did that.
Yeah.
I've not met a person that doesn't like this film. And if there is anyone that doesn't, I don't get how. It's fun, it's funny, it's so full of heart and character, and it's just brilliant.
Amazing score by Michael Giacchino.
I didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
The theme, it's just, it's so great.
Yeah.
And Brad Bird is just one of the best animated directors
Definitely.
ever.
He doesn't do many things, but when he comes out with a new film, it's always
quality.
Yeah.
Showtime.
My number 6 is a Pixar film as well.
Yeah.
It is my favorite Toy Story film, Toy Story 3. All the Toy Stories are very close together, but Toy Story 3, oh, wow, what an ending. In the last 15 minutes, I thought I was pretty much saying goodbye to my childhood. I was like, it's so gut-wrenching and heartbreaking.
Once again, it's very mature.
Yeah.
Which
Definitely.
is great, because kids can handle those things,
Yeah.
you know?
Thanks, guys.
I've been pretty much Andy's age throughout all the Toy Stories. Like when in 1995, when the first one came out, I was give or take a year. I was his age. Same with Toy Story 2, and then when Toy Story 3 came out in 2010.
Yes,
for sure?
2010.
Yeah. I was also in my early 20s, like Andy. God, this movie it did everything just perfectly. It has the best opening sequence for me for any Toy Story.
And the animation is so stunning as well.
Yeah, Tim Allen and Tom Hanks give their best performances in this one. I think out of all the Toy Stories, they are so heartfelt and emotional. In particular, Tom Hanks in that last few minutes when he says "so long, partner," it just gets me. It really gets me.
So long, partner.
Top 5 animated films, and this is a very recent one. It's the best Spider-Man film I've ever seen.
Oh, Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. What a knockout. I remember when this film was first announced and was first being talked about, I was like, it kind of seems a bit pointless, considering we have the MCU and everything. It's like, why do we need another Spider-Man flick? But I watched it, and it's so much bigger than just a Spider-Man film, in my opinion. First of all, let's talk about the visuals. The way that it looks is incredible. It has such a unique style.
Good, you're doing it. Double tap to release and whip it out again. Okay. Whip and release. You're a natural. Whip.
The way this film looks is just so visually interesting. I didn't want to blink. You know, I didn't want to blink because I didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
And
things happen so fast.
And that's another thing that's great about it. It's such a fast-paced film, and it's got some wonderful emotional moments. The way that the story progresses, once again, I keep talking about the themes of these animated films, but that's because that's one of the biggest things that animated films have is their themes.
Yeah.
And this is about taking that leap of faith. I loved the chemistry between not only Peter B. Parker and Miles Morales, but I love the chemistry between them and the rest of the Spider people.
Yeah.
Nick Cage's Spider-Man Noir is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I was shocked at how much I loved this film.
Officer, I love you.
Wait, what?
It has such a unique place in animation, and it has such a unique place in Spider-Man. And I think as the first Marvel-related film to come out post the death of Stan Lee, it's such an appropriate film because that was
a great Stan Lee cameo.
Fantastic.
Touching Stan Lee cameo. Yeah.
Yep. It's just such a fantastic film. Wonderful action, wonderful comedic moments, and it's such an adventure, and I adored it.
So you want to learn to be Spider-Man? Can you teach me? Yes, I can. Time to swing.
What's your number 5?
My number 5 is also a recent film. It's one that I actually saw this week for the first time ever, and it's on my top 10. That is the finale to How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. I mean, you just go watch my review. You'll see why I love the movie. I'm not going to repeat everything I've already said. A beautiful finale. It's the finale that the film deserved, that the series deserved, and I just loved every single minute of it.
We are no longer safe here. We all have to disappear, completely off the map. We have to fight for their freedom.
I've seen it twice now. Both times I walk away just with tears in my eyes, and I just love it to death. And Toothless and Hiccup, I just want to have them as my best friends.
Yeah, it's a stunning film.
Yeah,
stunning film. Once again, go watch our review. My number 4 is a very special film, holds a dear place in my heart. My Neighbor Totoro, released in '88, I think.
It's a good year.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's
a good year.
It's one of the most touching family films ever put to screen. I was actually lucky enough, not last year, the year before, to go see this film at the cinema when they did the Studio Ghibli celebration. And I got to see this at the cinema with my 2-year-old niece who she was 2 years old at the time. She absolutely adored it, the way that I adored it as a child and now as an adult. It's just so beautiful. I love the chemistry between the characters. I love the blunt simplicity of it. It's got such a unique look, but it's timeless as well.
I find all the best animated films have got that quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like everyone that we mentioned on our list so far, I think you can say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. Miyazaki, like top 3 directors for me. You know, this was his first big one, and it's still one of his best.
My number 4 is my favourite Pixar film. It's been my favourite ever since 2007 when it was released. You know exactly what it is, don't you? Ratatouille. Nothing in Pixar has come close to that one just yet. I just love this movie. It's such a fun, creative, imaginative film. It's different. It does things that we've never seen in animation before in terms of storytelling.
How did you do that?
It's so unique in its approach to what is essentially like a theme that is often done in films, but the way they do it here, it's Brad Bird. He just does such a good job.
Yeah, there have been a few of his films on our list, doesn't that say something?
Definitely.
Don't look at me like that! You're the one who was getting fancy with the spices!
The whole theme of being who you want to be regardless of your background or, you know, where you come from. The film looks incredible. The shots of Paris, I mean, obviously I've got a bit of bias because I'm French, but, and obviously I love food.
I think that's actually one of the standouts of the film is how the food is animated. It looks stunning.
Yeah, you want to eat it.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Right?
And it feels real. It feels like a real kitchen.
Absolutely.
The way the attitude and everything. And you get an amazing final monologue by the great Peter O'Toole. And of course, I have to mention Michael Giacchino's theme for this movie. This is my favorite Pixar theme of all of them, even tops Incredibles, which is Michael Giacchino again. He just keeps topping himself.
He's an incredible composer.
Oh, he's in my top 3. He's just incredible.
I can't cook, but you can, right? Look, don't be so modest. You're a rat, for Pete's sake.
Top 3 films.
Wow. This was a tough one because this sort of swaps around for me a lot, my top 3 animated films. But if I was going to rank it, this is how I would rank it. Number 3 for me is Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox. This is my favorite Wes Anderson film. I adore it. It's so kooky and so creative, and it's such a wonderful adaptation of the Roald Dahl book. It's a marriage, really. It's perfect that Wes Anderson did it, because he's so original, like that man was, you know?
Woo! Should we dance?
I don't usually talk much about how much I love the voice casts of things, or the cast of movies in general, but everyone is just so spot on. They bring that classic Wes Anderson deadpan. I absolutely adore it. I know it's not for everyone, Robbie.
I like it. I don't dislike it. I like it.
Oh, it's so stunning as well. I love the orange color palette that it has. Everything is fantastic.
What's this thing you do, the whistle with the clicking sound?
That's my trademark.
That's one of my favorite animated films ever made.
We're different. We all are. Him especially. But there's something kind of fantastic about that, isn't there?
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
My number 3 was pretty much my favorite childhood film. Came out in 1988, because that's a good year. And that is The Land Before Time. This movie just... It was actually the first film I ever saw.
Oh yeah.
Ever. Came out the year I was born, so it was kind of like it was meant to be. This is the film that kick-started my love of dinosaurs in general, and it's just such a beautiful film. Spielberg produced it, George Lucas produced it, James Horner, one of my favorite composers, did the music for it, which I think is one of the most beautiful, heartbreaking themes ever written. Diana Ross's song for it is just as heartbreaking. I get teary just hearing that music. But just the story of Littlefoot losing his mother. Like, for me, it was a precursor to Simba and Mufasa.
Mother, where are you?
Even now, like, I watch it now. From beginning to end, I'm in an absolute blubbering mess through that entire movie. The sequels are fine, but the first one was just a whole other thing.
Oh, you can't quit now. What if the Great Valley is just over the top of these rocks?
It's been in my top 3, obviously, ever since, yeah.
I don't have anything to add, because I haven't seen it.
I mean, I haven't seen The Iron Giant, so add it to your list for this year.
Okay, I'll watch that by the end of this year.
I'll do The Iron Giant.
Sounds great.
From Universal Pictures.
Some things you see with your eyes. Others you see with your heart.
A new adventure is born. The Land Before Time.
Okay, number 2. Now, this is my favorite Miyazaki film, my favorite Studio Ghibli film, Howl's Moving Castle. I absolutely adore this film. It tells a very simple story.
That is ancient sorcery. Quite powerful, too.
The story takes a backseat to the characters, though. And the themes of the film with war is just... It really hits home, honestly. It's a film that's timelessly relevant, and I loved all the characters. Calcifer is one of my favorite animated characters ever put to screen. I think that Joe Hisashi's score is probably my favorite ever made. It's, in my opinion, the best animation that he has done. He is such a visionary. It's a film that kids could watch and enjoy. But I feel like it's better for, like, teenagers and through to adulthood.
Hold on.
But Howl's Moving Castle, can't recommend it enough.
Journey to amazing new worlds.
Find me in the future!
Aboard Howl's Moving Castle.
My number 2 is almost neck and neck with my number 1.
I know exactly what your number 2 and number 1 are.
It's so close. How to Train Your Dragon, the original film. Wow, it's so good. I think this is DreamWorks' masterpiece. I think this is one of the greatest films ever made. It is just a beautiful story of friendship.
No.
A forbidden friendship that shouldn't have happened, that does happen, of changing things and not being stuck down by expectations put on you. Hiccup is so wonderfully realised by the animators and Jay Baruchel as the voice actor.
There's a lot of subtlety to it because Jay Baruchel has a very shy-sounding voice.
Yeah.
But even then, you don't have to listen to him to tell he's shy. You can look at him and he's just an awkward kid.
Oh, no, you don't. Oh, come on, let me out. I need to make my mark.
The standout for me is without a doubt Toothless, one of my all-time favourite film characters. The amount of expression they get from this character that is neither human nor speaks. I'm gonna mention again, John Powell, just unbelievable score. I was so disappointed he didn't win Best Music because he was nominated.
Who did he lose to?
He lost to Michael Giacchino, which tears me apart that it was Michael Giacchino because I love
a wonderful score.
Because I love Michael Giacchino, but
score.
In terms of those two soundtracks, How to Train Your Dragon is far above up for me. I love those stories about friendship. How to Train Your Dragon is, for me, my favourite on-screen friendship, and I think it is a timeless classic. I just adore this film.
Yeah.
Link?
Well,
number one.
Down to the big number one. Now, before I talk about my favourite animated film, may I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
What is everything?
What do you mean?
What is everything?
As in?
Everything is awesome. With the Lego Movie. This is Phil Lord and Chris Miller's masterpiece. The first time I watched this, I was severely disappointed.
Really?
Yeah, as a kid, this was my most anticipated film. Well, I wasn't a kid, I was a teenager. But because I love Lego, I've always been building Lego, still do. And because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why they did certain things that they did, specifically with the ending.
Right.
But the second time I watched it, man, I fell in love.
And you are right.
And I understood everything that they were going for. And it's one of the only animated films that actually makes me cry, which is weird to say about the Lego Movie, but it evokes so much emotion into me when he's talking about how you are the special, like anyone can be the special. It's just fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I love this song!
And the way that the comedy runs as well is just beautiful.
Pow. Wham. First try.
It rolls off the tongue, and to me, almost every joke lands.
To the Batmobile. Dang it.
To the invisible jet. Dang it.
You get one of the best Batmans ever on screen.
Will Arnett is perfect. He's a fantastic supporting character. I love all the characters. Emmett Brokowski is one of my favorite characters ever. I love following his journey. It's one of those films that just evokes so much emotion from me, and it's very special. My favorite animated film, my number one.
What is ranking all-time films? The top 10?
Top 5.
Top 5.
It's number 5 in my top 10.
Isn't there supposed to also be a good cop?
Hi, buddy. Would you like a glass of water?
Yeah, actually.
Too bad.
What's your number one? Even though I already know. Tell them.
It's in my top 3 films of all time, just below Jurassic Park and Jaws. That's The Lion King. I think it is Walt Disney's masterpiece. Like, not Walt Disney himself, the studio's masterpiece.
He made it himself?
Walt Disney Studios' masterpiece, I should say. It is, I think, one of the greatest films ever made. It's just flawless. There is not a line of dialogue, there is not a frame, there is nothing in this film that I can fault. It is just, to the second, absolutely perfect.
Yep, masterpiece.
The animation is absolutely breathtaking, and it just comes to life in a way that I don't think any other 2D animated film does. The cast are so iconic in their roles. For me, Jeremy Irons will always be Scar. I hear his voice and it's Scar.
I will be king. Run away and never return.
And James Earl Jones. As much as I love Star Wars, James Earl Jones for me is Mufasa.
We are all connected in the great circle of life.
And Matthew Broderick I always associate with Simba. And this film, I saw it on the big screen for the first time. It's one of the few times I saw it with mum and dad and both sets of grandparents. I just remember like it was yesterday, and just the feeling of seeing it for the first time, and all of us were just completely blown away by what we were watching. And I remember the feeling of when the credits ended and just the whole cinema just sat there in silence, which rarely happens. The credits were finished and half the cinema was still sitting there. And this is before a time of end credit scenes where people weren't staying to watch what was coming after the credits. They just were sitting there just listening to the music and just taking in what we just seen. It has one of the greatest opening scenes ever put to screen. It has one of the greatest finales ever put to screen. The songs are collectively my favorite, not just Disney songs, but favorite film songs ever written. Tim Rice and Elton John combined with Hans Zimmer's just incredible score. It all comes together just like clockwork. I think this is Hans Zimmer's greatest score. You know, people mention Hans Zimmer and they always go straight Dark Knight, Pirates of the Caribbean, which I love those scores, but The Lion King I think is an underrated one of his.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, it's just perfect. It's perfect.
Walt Disney Pictures presents an entertainment event you'll never forget.
You know what? We didn't have any films that correlated in our top 10s.
That's true, we didn't.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I had a couple in my runner-ups that were in your top 10s, but besides that, it's pretty fresh.
Yeah.
It's such a wonderful way to make a film. I absolutely love animation, and it's a unique way to tell stories. And that's what's so great about it, is that you can tell so many different stories with it. And you can tell stories that you couldn't tell in live action. The best stories are the ones that you could tell in live action and would be no different. But it's just such a wonderful medium.
Yeah. And when done right, they are a perfect balance for both adults and kids.
Yep. It's not just a kids movie, it's a family movie.
Yep. Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Anyway, guys, those were our top 10 animated films of all time. If you made it through this long, thank you. Thank you for your support and for watching our content. Let us know what your favourite animated films are. We'd love to see them. Love to see if there's anything that neither of us have seen, to see if there's anything we could add.
Yeah. And we'll endeavour to have more of our top 10s coming out throughout the year.
Absolutely.
Not have such a long gap between them.
Gotta have some appreciation, you know?
We will definitely do our top 10 Marvel when Endgame comes out.
Very excited for that one, actually. And in the meantime, keep an eye out for our review of Vice. Can't wait to do that. It's a great film. But until then, we'll see you at the movies.